All right, well, good evening, everybody. If you could get yourself something to eat and then find a place to sit, we're going to get started. I want to thank everyone for being here. For those who don't know who I am, I'm Rachel Monades, the Assistant Superintendent of Student Services. And this is our third meeting to talk about a centralized services facility. And so I want to just see a show of hands. How many of you have been, you were here in June and or July to talk about this? June and or July. Well, thank you for coming back. Anyone who is new today, please raise your hand. Was the very first time you've been here? Thank you, thank you. We'll get you caught up. I'm going to do a quick overview of how we came to be where we're at. But before I get started, I'm going to turn the microphone over to our superintendent, Dr. Marsden.
Thank you, Dr. Monades, and I want to thank all of you for making the time to be here tonight. We are excited because this is a meeting that helps us not only see the possibilities of our work together, but create the future for our community ahead of us. As we look back on this and the work and completion for our centralized services facility, I want you to think that the work we're doing now will impact parents for generations after us, because we're looking at building in the next few years a permanent facility to provide the kinds of supports and resources for our families. So I want you to imagine a family coming in new to San Bernardino. It's their first time visiting. They walk into our center. They're greeted with a smile. And all of a sudden, they're walked through these services and oriented to services in such a way that they're just overwhelmed with all the offerings for their children. Their child is assessed, whether they have health needs, financial needs, maybe they have economic needs. Those resources are available for students in that building. They might come in with an IEP from another district having special needs services, and being able to have those needs met in one location and receive the kinds of supports necessary. So think about it. This is a really big step we're taking in this kind of work. I want to compliment the leadership of the board and their vision for this work. As you know, this is not an easy task. It's not a cheap or inexpensive task. And so I want to compliment Dr. Margaret Hill, our board president, who's here, and Ms. Gwen Rogers, a board member who's here. And so thank you for your leadership on the board, ladies, and I am so confident that together we will get to where we need to be so we can create the kinds of environments for our kids to thrive. So thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Marsden. I was about to call him Dr. Monades, so you could tell it's been a long day. It's been a long day. But yes, thank you for everyone for being here, and we are definitely committed to making this happen for our community. It's very exciting. There's a lot of, it's kind of like a roller coaster. There's the ups and the downs, but we know that at the end we're going to have a really good time because it's going to be really good for our students. So let me go through what we're going to do today. If this is, turn it on. There we go. So we have some expected outcomes. And this is on your agenda as well, if the font is a little bit small for you. So in terms of rational outcomes, we want to present and finalize the temporary location options for centralized facilities. I'm going to share how we're going to get all this done today. We're being very systematic about it, but that's one of our outcomes. We want to share communication materials that we currently have in place to advertise the educational programs in the district and get input from the our community members in the room, not so much about what it looks like in the brochures, but is the content providing what you need as a community member, as a parent. For those who are San Bernardino City Unified employees, you also have the voice of the parents because you hear from parents on the many questions they might ask, and maybe we need to improve our documents in that area. So that's part of what we're going to do tonight, is to make sure that you have that our community, when they walk into this center, when it's developed, that what we can provide for them gives them the resource, the access, the knowledge to what they need to make the best choice for their children. And then share a process for identification and program placement for students. So what we've heard over the last couple of meetings is that there is a little bit of confusion on how do we identify students for different programs. And so we have members from our special ed program here who will talk about how would a student be identified as possibly learning disabled child, or a student who needs an IEP. What does that process look like? How does a student get identified to be part of the English learner programs? What does that process look like? And then finally, how do we determine placement for accelerated programs? And so we have people in the room that will be able to walk through and answer questions, but also ultimately this helps us to develop documents that we can have in this center, even if the people aren't in the center, that the information is there. Because we can't have everybody necessarily in this particular center, but we want to be sure that we have the right information. And then we can connect you with those resources. So those are the three big outcomes. The experiential continues to be the same. We want to continue to build and nurture relationships amongst all the individuals in the room and the people who are out there watching this through the video. Hi, all you. And bring us all together because we know that this is good for our students. So we're going to get started with a little bit of a name game because we haven't named our center yet. Now, there's board policy around naming facilities. So this isn't something that we can finalize tonight, but we are kind of in this place where we want to start gathering some information. Am I okay, facilities people back there? Around what we might name this when we get to that place. And then we would make recommendations to a naming committee as part of our board policy. And so I believe, Angelica, you have been voluntold or to come up and lead this fun activity. So come on up, please. Angelica is with facilities. What is your specific job description, job title? Budget analyst for facilities. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Angelica Quiroga, and I am the budget analyst for facilities. So basically, I've been provided with this task. So we're going to do the icebreaker. And basically, the purpose of the are we doing the icebreaker, Tom, now? Yes, okay. So we're doing the icebreaker, and the purpose of the icebreaker, of course, is to get to know your neighbor. So we'll start with 3 questions, okay? So if you can please turn to your neighbor and answer 3 of the following 3 questions. Question number 1 will be, what is your favorite color? Okay. Question number 2 will be, what was the first car you drove or owned? And question number 3 will, of course, will pertain to this. Come up or think of some names that you would like for our building to have. So if you could please turn to your neighbor and answer these questions and brainstorm, please. Expecting it this soon, Tom. My tummy hurts.
Test. Okay, go ahead and bring your sentence to a close. So hold on to the different names that you came up with, because when we go on to our next, well, in a few minutes, we're going to break into smaller groups. And so we're going to have a small group working on and talking about the facility itself. And then that's where you can take those names to that group. Okay, so just hold on to that. The other two pieces were just to get to know each other. So we're going to move on. So we thought in putting this agenda together, you know, because every time we're getting ready to come together and bring this group together, Devana and Lilia sit down with Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Pace, and myself, so family engagement, facilities, and myself, to talk about where are we and what are our next steps, and what did we hear from the parent groups, and where do we need to go with this. And what we thought was we need to just do a quick review of where we've been and what's happened, right? So this is a visual of it, and I'll talk through it. And then I'm going to point to things in the room to help remind people, for those who have been here the whole time, of where we've been and where we're going. And, you know, so visuals kind of help. So when we came together, well, actually, we can back this up to around probably right when I started in the district, when there was a request by DLAC to have a place where students could be enrolled and parents would know about the different programs, specifically around our English learners. But over time, that evolved. And it evolved in the right direction, because it's not just the parents of our English learners, but our entire community who want to know what are the programs that are available to us in our district. There's many great programs happening in San Bernardino, and our charge is to figure out how to get that information to our parents so they can make the most informed decision. And so over time, it has evolved, and a survey went out towards the end of last school year where we surveyed, my goodness, I don't remember how many. Aldo, do you remember how many how many we got back? It was in the thousands, I remember. I want to say around 7,000 parents. Does that sound right? I see shaking heads. And the data showed a variety of pieces of information that then, when we first came together as a group, so that was June 19th? Yes, June 19th. That's my reminder on the board. We looked at what the data showed, and so it showed things like, in terms of enrollment, parents wanted options for enrollment. Some parents did want a center that they could go to and learn and enroll right then and there. Some parents wanted to be able to go to their neighborhood school and enroll at their neighborhood school. Other parents want to be able to sit at home and get ready to enroll their children online, because that's the age that we're in. That was some of the information we saw. When we asked parents about services they would like to see, we saw a variety of services that parents would like to see. We saw that they wanted to see information around assessment, around, you know, language assessment and special ed assessment and accelerated program assessment, but they also wanted to see information about pathways in our district, right? And they wanted to know how could, if I have a child, or if I have a family member, or if in my family we need some services around mental health, how do we access that? How do we access health clinics? How do we get to that information? And so on June 19th, we were able to pull all that data together, and in groups, if you were here, you remember that you looked at the various data points, and we saw, okay, one size does not fit all. And this center needs to be a place where one size does not fit all, but we need to find other ways to get that information out. We also, on that day, because there was varying ideas around what could this center look like and sound like, and depending on if you're a parent who wants more support around mental health and health clinic, for example, you have one piece of information, and that's part of your vision, but another parent may want language assessment, and there's just lots of different needs. And so, if you remember, we asked you to dream, and you did. You dreamt very big. We asked you to dream about what could this center look like and sound like, and we were very specific. We said we don't want you to put any barriers. And so in groups, so we have 14 posters, you dreamt what the center could look like, and so you saw some even thought about what it could look like physically, right? We have hearts up there, and we heard things around food courts, and we heard things around Definitely we heard things around educational programs, access to information. We heard around language assessment or assessment of where students are at. We heard things around college and career, all of that. And so we brought all that together and we themed it, right? We made groups. And I'm going to show you in the next picture how we got to that. But it all came from the groups, collective information, really looking at what can this center have inside of it to meet these diverse needs. Then we set up the priorities based on that information, and then from there, we have some recommendations for who would be the initial staff members. It's not all of them, but we have this in-between time. We called it in the meantime. We talked about that a lot, used that phrase. And we started talking about that in July. So tonight we're going to share with you the various pieces of information that you've been asking for, and then we're also going to share with you what that temporary facility would look like. But we just want to remind the group that it came from those of you sitting here, and there are some who aren't here tonight. But this overview, do you remember seeing this before? And we have it in Spanish, because we just couldn't put all the Spanish on here. So if you are a Spanish reader, we actually have it in Spanish on the tables for you. When you see 14 out of 14, those are the top priorities. That means that when we went through these posters, and I believe actually it was facilities who went through all these posters and they grouped all the different areas, every single poster had something around program options and assessment. That was really important to the group, 14 out of 14. Every single poster had something about health services and mental health services. And every single poster, 9 out of the 14 posters said, we want something around enrollment options, registration. We want it to be a place where when we walk in, we feel welcomed, we're greeted, all of that. And so, in thinking about the temporary space, not the permanent one, the temporary one, we said we need to make sure that the highest priorities are met in the temporary space. And so tonight, when we talk about who would be in this temporary space, it's based off of the information that we gathered from your input there. Any questions on that? So, that being said, this is the staff that we are suggesting would be in the temporary space while the permanent space is still being developed, right, or built. We would have the English learner programs and the Language Assessment Center, because they go hand in hand. And when we break into the smaller groups, you'll understand how they fit together. We are going to, sometime this week, we will be flying a position for an Assistant Director of Enrollment Services. We currently do not have one individual who sits over the entire enrollment process. So you'll notice in this room, and when we break into our small groups, enrollment sits in lots of different parts of the district. It sits in educational services, the whole English learner programs, the accelerated programs, the pathways, that's all in educational services. But then we have our special ed program, and that sits in student services. And then we have our family engagement, and that sits in student services. And then we have the facilities piece, because they have to make sure we have enough space in our schools for our children to go there. So it sits in lots of different parts of the district, and it makes sense at this point to have someone who's going to oversee all of that. And that person would be housed in the temporary facility as well as the permanent when that comes along. So that person and their team will be the welcoming people, right? And they will make sure that that families get the information that they need. They may not be the expert in that information, but they will be the connector of that information. And they will make sure that the materials are there and the knowledge is there. We're also suggesting, as part of the temporary, that we have they have been renamed, our Atlas department. So they used to be our foster youth and homeless. And where's Angela? I saw you walk in. Remind me what it's, oh, I'm sorry, you have a piece of cheese in your mouth. Atlas stands for Access to Learning for All Students. Access to Learning for All Students. And it was actually this, Angela has for those of you who don't know Angela, she's our principal on special assignment, and she is doing a fabulous job with our foster youth and our homeless, really shepherding them through the process, the educational system, so that they don't get lost and they graduate. And because of her work and her team, we're at a 78% graduation rate, which is way above states at 54%. So thank you, Angela, for all your hard work. And yes, let's give her a round of applause. And she has an advisory group of foster and homeless youth, and not something that children want everyone to know. So they asked for their department to be renamed, and they created that. So Atlas. And then finally, our family engagement department, as you know, under the leadership of Mr. Ramirez, Aldo Ramirez. And so this is who we're suggesting for the temporary location would be there. And then for the permanent location, when we know the size and we know all of that, then we would be adding other services. But to start with, these are the most important based on these priorities. Okay? So what we also want, because we've heard this for the last 2 sessions, is, well, so when we say services in this facility, what does that look like, Dr. Monades? What does that look like? What does that sound like? What's the actual plan look like? And so tonight what we want to do is we want to have you sit in small groups and have the departments explain some process, some procedures, some identification pieces, so that you would understand that, let's use special ed, for example. Special ed has been one that has come up multiple times. When it comes to assessments for special ed, new assessments, not if your child already has an IEP and you're new to the district. That's a very different process. But if it's a new assessment for a potential special ed student, that assessment happens at the school, and it has to happen at the school, because that's where all of the people who engage with the student are at. Because you assess not just the cognitive ability of the child, but you assess the academic ability, and you assess the language ability, and there's other pieces. And all of those people engage with the student at the school, including the regular classroom teacher. But we want to be sure to explain that process to you, because what we need to know from you is, so how do we communicate that best to our communities so that everyone understands that the assessment happens at the school, but also what information do we need to have in this center to help parents so that you don't feel like you're getting the runaround, because that's not what we're trying to do. So when we break into groups, that's going to be part of the work. They're going to explain the assessment process and how a child even gets identified. It's quite a lengthy process, because we don't want just putting children into special ed. We want to put those who would qualify appropriately, and then they're going to get some input from you. Okay? So this is what we're going to do. I told you we have a plan for this, because it's a lot of information, and we want to make sure that we can answer questions in a smaller setting. So you're going to do what you used to do in elementary school when we used to group kids and then rotate through. That's what we're going to have you do. So you're going to be in 3 groups. One group is going to be over here, and this will be, well, let me start from the top. So the first one is our facilities department. They're actually going to relocate up here. And in the facilities department, they're going to talk about the temporary location options in case there's any questions you've had. We know that DLAC voted on Friday, but there's other people in the room, and we just want to be able to answer any questions. And then you get to spend some time talking about what it could potentially be called, the actual name, and any other questions that are pertinent to facilities. And you're going to stay there until the little chime goes off, and then you're going to rotate to another table, okay? The next table, and it'll be over here with Linda, and so it'll be communications, educational services, and family engagement. This one is specific around our communication materials. So we have quite a few materials that we have to share with the community, but we want to make sure we're sharing the right information. Yes, that the content of the information is meeting the family needs. So you'll sit over here, you'll give input on the actual content, and then you'll be able to ask any questions, because your questions gives us information as well, okay? And then the last one is the English Learner, Advanced Learners, and Special Education Program, and I think that's probably going to be the one that we may have to come back to again, because there's a lot in that, but they're going to be over here, because I see them all seated here, most of you, right? Yes. And so you're going to start here, and the same idea. So you'll be seated, they'll do a quick overview. How does a student become an English learner? What does that look like? If you're not a parent of an English learner, you're not sure how that happened. So that's just a basic knowledge. Same thing for special education, same thing for advanced learners. And then the process is still the same in terms of what additional information might you need, what could we put in the center to help parents to know how to navigate it, what do we have that's missing. And you'll spend, let's see, what time are we at? Okay, so I planned for, I think we'll do about 20 minutes in each group, and then you'll rotate. And 20 minutes so that by the end you will have hit every group. Any questions on that? Linda.
Good evening. I just wanted to ask all of our attendees tonight to take one sample of all the publications that are at your tables so that when you get over here to my station, you have your own copies of the materials that we're going to review. We just have a few over here. So that was my only request.
And so those are, just to be clear, those are the options brochures, those are the linked learning, and those are the program for excellence. Are those the three, Linda? Yes. So just take your, and as you rotate through, and if for some reason you didn't get it, I will not be linked to any group, and I'll get you what you need. Any other questions? So the intent of this is to give you an opportunity in a small group to both think of it from two hats. Two hats. One, as a parent new to our community, what would we need to know? And two, what are the common questions that you have or that you hear others have, so that we're sure to start filling those gaps? Because even if we can't have the actual people in the center, we can have the information. And the idea is access and information. And then we'll come back together at the end. We'll do a final vote for the temporary facility location, and then answer any questions and do our confidence line. I think probably for translation purposes, we should probably have our translator. Let's have all of our, how many parents do we have with the translation devices? One, just two. Let's have them together so then you can follow. Okay? Whichever one you guys want to come together. Va a ser juntos. All right. So the table in the back, y'all need to either come to this table up front here or join one of the two bigger tables, and same here. Whichever the bigger tables are the three tables that you can be a part of. All right, and I'm going to set the timer. We're going to do 20 minutes. I have some. Thank you, though. Thank you.
When you do that confidence line, are you just going to have them stand?
Oh, we didn't bring the colors.
No, I don't have a color, but I could do a color.
Or number. No, I've been doing colors with them. Yeah, we'll do a color.
You want to do
So
a color?
it's red, yellow, green.
Okay. And you want it over there?
Across it, yeah. Red, yellow, green. How beautiful. Okay. So finish up what you're saying right now. Okay. So this table, you're going to come up front with facilities. We've already learned that this group takes a little bit, not this group, the topic over here takes a little bit more time. So our ELs, you're going to you'll start here, and then when this table gets over here, you'll come back, you'll do both. You'll start and then you'll bounce back there. You guys are going over here with communications and our various educational programs, and you are going over here to our special ed and our accelerated programs. So relocate. We're going to take time. Let's go. Move to your next center, please. So our facilities, we lost you. Oh, you're over here. Yes, okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Yay. You're over here, Mia. Okay, and we're missing people up front here. Because our tables were pretty even. Okay, now I want to make sure this table is getting going because this is the heavy topic, this table here. So we're going to hold questions till the end. He's got to get started. Thank you. Okay, I'm setting the timer, 20 minutes. Ready, go. Okay. So this is the last rotation. I see Mr. Dominguez. So last rotation, this group, you come over here, you come up to the facilities, and we're going to have EL program or identification into ELs also here. We had to move things a little bit. And then the most inquisitive group is coming over here. Lots of questions from that group. This is the last rotation. Do you need some more chairs? This is a bigger group, I think. Wherever you. Okay, I'm going to start the 20 minutes. This is the last rotation. Go.
be other opportunities, and see what interest they have. Maybe we pilot one Breakout center somewhere. At a school site somewhere. Because we're going to pilot stuff like that. But I'm not, I don't have I have never had a senior leader reach out to me. I know Melinda. So that's not hard for me.
Did you guys get through everything? Oh, you need to turn to your partner and do a high five because you're the only group that got through all of them. Good job, good job. High five. All right, so we made it through all and we were able to double up and make sure everyone got what they needed. You are welcome to stay where you're at, or you're welcome to return to maybe where your things were. So whatever you feel most comfortable, and then we're going to close this up. So if you want to move, now's the time. Is everyone okay? We're good. So I do want to recognize a board member that came in a little bit later. He's telling me no, but I'm still going to recognize Dr. Scott Wyatt, one of our board members. Thank you for attending, Dr. Wyatt. Appreciate it. Okay, so this is the net. We want to make sure that when we think about this temporary space that we have captured the right information for the time being. Remember that we still have a permanent that we're going to be working on. So based on what was just shared here, what you heard, did we miss anything? We're going to capture that right now if we did, because we need to know that. Was anything missed? Was anything missed in terms of staff that we would put in the center, as well as I heard really good feedback in every single one of the spots. So that helps us as as the people who are going to develop the resources and the materials for the community to make sure that we're actually meeting the need. Otherwise, we can be doing lots of great work, and it's still not meeting the need, and therefore it's not doing what we want. So I saw a hand, Sonia. Thank you. So this part up here, the health services. So what we're looking at for the temporary space, thank you. I actually think did I go too fast? Oh, I did. I didn't say it. So for the temporary space, we would have a health clinic. And in the clinic, it would offer immunizations. It would offer sports physicals. Those are the two high need pieces. We're also looking at the partnership. And in the partnership, we could also, over time, probably not right away, but over time, we would do referrals for mental health services. So we would be working in our community. For the permanent facility, we would want both a combination of being able to offer mental health there in partnership, as well as do referrals. But for the temporary, just because of space, the key pieces, the most important, we thought, in terms of making sure our students are in school, and making sure that if they want to participate in sports, our families have a place to go to. It's a health clinic that would offer immunizations as well as the sports physicals. You're welcome. Thank you for that question. Anything else? Lilia. Thank you. That's good. Can we capture that so we don't forget that? That's an important detail. Absolutely. TB tests for our parents or any of our volunteers that want to work with our children. Good. Anything else? So while you're thinking about it, I do want to go back to, each time we ask you, are we on the right track? Are we meeting the need? Because this is intended, if we go back to our original purpose, it's about developing relationships and trust, letting the community know that we are listening, and the intent is to provide you a space where all of these different services are either available or you know how to access those services somewhere else, right? So over here, I think you learned, and thank you for our special ed team, did a really nice job. You learned why special ed it doesn't make necessarily sense to have the testing at the centralized center, why it's so important to have it at the school site. But you also gave us information on how we can make sure that our parents get the same type of information if they enter the center. And they're saying, I think my child may have some learning needs. How do I go about supporting them? And so the center can offer information that would take place at the school. So I want to go back to the most important information that was shared, or the key points that this group gave in July, and we've met quite a few of them, so I'm pleased with the work. One of the things, I think it was actually Pastor Mack who said this, to continue positive relationships and connections looking to the future. Are we doing that? Okay, thank you, sir. Develop a comprehensive training program of staff. So we didn't talk about that tonight. That work is in process. You did hear us talk about an assistant director for enrollment, and that person, they're going to be carrying a lot of work initially, but we know we're going to get the right person in there that's going to be able to train not only whomever is in this centralized center, but also staff at the schools, right? Because remember, that the option for enrollment is it's not one size fits all. So we want lots of different ways that families can access information. Some might choose to go to their local school. And if they choose to go to their local school, we want them to get the same information that they would get if they went to the centralized center. Some might choose to enroll online when we get that, and we're moving in that direction. And when they do, we want them to get the same information with some clicking of the buttons and some videos, right? So the intent is whatever works for the family, we're working towards that. So that's still in progress. We have not completed any of that. Website development with process to access programs. We actually have it. And I think, Aldo, you told me right before this that any day now it's going to be up for people to take a look at. So that's in process and it's almost done. Identify specific services to be available at the center. Did we take care of that tonight? Is everyone, you feel better about what the center is going to look like and sound like, especially when we're talking about the temporary. The bigger center is going to have even more, but the temporary, you're going to see those type. What we talked about tonight, aside from special ed, that's the temporary space, right? Plan to roll out services during the 3-year construction. Again, I think we addressed that tonight. Does everyone feel okay there? Okay. Adequate space for the departments. I know we have a vote that we'll be counting up shortly about which option is being recommended to our school board. So tomorrow night we have a special school board meeting, and at that special school board meeting we'll be sharing what the recommendation is from the community, and the board will make the final decision. Concrete plan for location options. We've done a lot about that. And accurate and up-to-date materials and documents on website. That jumps right back up to the other one, right? Develop the website with processes. So we're making sure all that information is accurate before we put it up there. So I want to thank the team, all the different employees that are in here. You guys are working really hard. Thank you for everything that you're doing. And thank you for the parents who are participating. So we're at the point now where we can do the count up. Do we have the count up of the options? Oh, they're back there. No, they're counting right now. And you have the numbers from DLAC, correct? Oh, okay. Da-da-da-da-da. And while they're doing that, we're doing really well on time. So 2 things. Upon your exit out, if you did not sign in, if you could please sign in. We have a lot who didn't, and we like to keep track of that. Our board likes to know that we actually have parents coming to these things. And we have bagged food to take home, so grab one of those on your way out. But don't leave yet. But please do that. And so I'm going to give you a moment to think about our confidence line. This is not new, right? So each time we put this up to make sure, and you can see we use this information to plan the next one. We're not quite sure what the next one needs to include at this point, in all honesty. We might just need to start getting the work done. There's just some things. But I think your information will tell us. Okay, so I'm going to have you get up and move while they're still counting. But before you leave here, we'll get the count. So, how confident are you that we're listening to the diverse needs of the community? Stand at the red, the yellow, the green. So just up and stand for the first bullet question over there, please. How confident are you that we're listening to the diverse needs of the community when it comes to this centralized engagements? Do we have it? Oh, okay. Don't go yet. All right. Okay. So for option 1, we had in total 18 votes for option 1. And remember, option 1 was the portable trailer module. Did I say it right? Modular. Okay, thank you. At the BOE, so there's 18. And for option 2, this was a lease option. Down near, is it Ross that I saw? Marshall's, thank you, 71. And so the recommendation to the board will be option 2. Understand that option 2 means that the enrollment season will get kicking and going because we start that around November, and we'll be doing our enrollment fairs and all of that. And so where everyone is housed right now, they will continue to be housed there until this lease option can get generated. But again, this is the recommendation we make to the board tomorrow night, and they take final action. Okay? All right, so thank you for your participation and your vote in that. Now it's time to show us with your movement, how are we doing? So red, yellow, green, please go and stand. How confident are you that we're listening to the diverse needs of the community? Up and go stand by that one, please. And then talk with the people around you about why you're standing there.
zone and put you guys in the middle of chaos. Y'all have did 100%. All of y'all need a round of applause, and we need to give it to you because y'all work hard and everything. Because I can share a lot of things with what I've seen so far.
Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, so share with each other, why are you at the yellow, why are you at the green, what keeps you there or what moved you up? Come over here and chitty chat with Mia. And that one you don't need to share aloud, but then the next question we are going to share aloud. What would it take to either stay at that level or get to the next one? So first, why are you there? And then the next one, what would it take for you to either stay at the green or move up? And then we'll capture that because that will help craft our next time together, okay? And so I'm going to give you 3 minutes for that. 3 minutes. Come closer. Do you guys need more time or are you good? All right. So I actually think we have, you have one, Pastor Mac. All right. So let's start with, Ms. Cooper, do you want to start? She's very articulate. She has some good ideas to share. So going from red to yellow, go ahead.
Okay, the reason why I was standing here in red was because after going to all the different tables, I noticed that we wasn't really addressing some of the needs of what the center may look like for our African-American youth. I just didn't see that. I mean, if our kids come in and they have a behavior issue, where can they go and get some help? Or if they're having a problem with their education, where can they go and get some help as well? And I didn't see that at any of our tables. And I believe that we need to help all our kids. And I think also staffing. We didn't talk about staffing. What's staffing going to look like? If this is going to be part of the community, then how's the staffing going to look? And we didn't address that issue as well.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Yes, let's give her a round of applause. She was standing all there all by herself. Who's going to speak on behalf of this group here? Thank you. Voluntold.
Okay, one of the issues that was brought up was with regard to the facility. And I know in our last meeting we talked about what the cost was going to be, what the cost was going to look like, and there was a roadblock tonight in discussing that. And if we're talking about our options of our temporary facility, that's one of the issues that should come into play when we're choosing our option on the facilities. Also, okay, and the other issue was just the information, getting the communication out there. It's fine for those that attend the meeting, but the information is not getting disseminated out to the community about what we're discussing here, so you can have a full engagement of the community.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And so, I'm sorry, so those two pieces, if we address those, that moves you up to green. Okay, thank you.
Or what color are you? You're green? We have a small group here that is between green and yellow.
Oh, so you're
Wanna hear
blue.
from me? Huh?
Green and yellow make blue.
I know one concern lifted is where will some of the programs, okay, so you know how we're only putting in the temporary location the high priority groups, but what about those that are still on that list that might be temporarily placed somewhere else, and then that turns into permanent spot that still may not end up being. So I guess the question is, like, for some of our programs that we do want to be centralized that might be moved temporarily, will they come back to a central location eventually?
Got it.
So that it's still accessible to parents, because if they're housed here or somewhere else that's not, off the beaten path, then, so that's one concern.
Got it. Did you get that, Mr. Ramirez? Thank
Did
you.
it make sense? I'm sorry, Aldo. Okay.
So
Anything else?
I kind of hear two things in that, right? One is that if they're not going into the temporary, so they're staying maybe where they're at, how do we still get that access to parents so that they know?
Or if they're going somewhere else.
Or if they're going somewhere else.
But it's not necessarily accessible.
Got it. Okay. And is there also a concern that maybe if they don't move, that they may never move?
No, I don't think
No.
that's a
Okay.
concern.
Good. I'm glad I'm not reading into that. All right. Thank you, Blue Group. Who's going to speak on behalf of the green? Look at everyone's crossing their arms. That's the happy group, no? Thank you, Mr. Acosta.
We were the green group, and we thought that there's been a lot of work done from the onset of the process, a lot of change, positive change, a lot of listening, authentic listening, and some commitments that are being kept. And for that reason, we thought we're in the green section for those reasons.
Thank
and
you.
to stay here, it would just be to continue more of the same, and we would stay in the same area.
Appreciate that.
I have to agree with him. One of the things, I was with the other superintendent that used to be here in this school district, and I watched when Dale came into the school district. And San Bernardino School District with Dr. Margaret Hill and Gwen Rogers and all the rest of them that was on that school district. I want you guys to hear something. When I was with the other school district, when we had it in San Bernardino, the other leader, he did not have this kind of format. We did not have the basic goals and effort to put together and to work within the San Bernardino School District, because when my son went through, he went through different types of situations, and I had to learn how to bend and accept. And when Dale came in here, he made a change. It wasn't easy. Any job you get is not easy. Right now, we're on the right pathway. We moving up the ladder, we climbing the ladder. Okay, everything will not get done overnight. But if they'll continue to stay in this San Bernardino School District, we will get to the top. And the dreams and hope will come through with Dr. Margaret Hill, Barbara Flores, and all the rest of them, and Dr. Wiseman, Dr. Mitchell, all of them. It will come together. Let's give it time. Let's get behind these people that's on the board and the president, and let's make it happen. Let's get these parents together in the community. Let's make it happen. Let's get the community together so we can build the foundation. Sometimes it's live within the parents as well as within the school and well within the teachers and things. Everybody got to play a part, including the husband and the wife and a single father and a single mother. So I hope that I didn't say nothing to offend nobody, but we got to learn to follow the dream like Martin Luther King said. And everything, I have a dream, and a dream shall come true. And I got a dream that we're going to be successful in San Bernardino. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Lilia, did you want to share something?
I just want to share that I've been through the process, the whole process of this enrollment center. I've shed my tears. I've had my tantrums, if you want to call them that. I've had arguments. I've had it. You name it, I probably had it. I picked up what was left from the previous committee. And I just want to assure Ms. Cooper, I understand what you're saying about the staffing, but to me, this is a big step, like I told our DLAC parents on Friday. I feel like we're standing at the door. It's just a matter of opening the door and taking the step forward. We finally got something for a temporary center. We got that. Let's worry about the staff and whatever comes on. We got the most important things that we know our children need. And it's up to us, again, if it doesn't happen, it's up to us to make it happen. Because we are the parents, we are the community. And I agree completely with you. Yes. Yes, I agree with you 1,000%. But like I said, we took the most important decision, the step. Now it's all in paper when it was not in the past. You know what everything that has gone through. So let's keep a positive mind. At one point, I was not positive at all. That was at the last meeting. But through this process, I've learned quite a few things. And one of them is being a little bit more patient and listen more. So that's why I'm standing in the green side right now. I'm not because I'm not thinking, oh, the staff, complete staff is going to be all Hispanics. No, because we're all equal here. Everybody's equal. It's a temporary location. Let's see what the needs are, the staff, because everybody needs jobs, yes. Everybody needs jobs. So let's take it one step at a time. I know you are, Ms. Cooper. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you were very positive. So thank you very much. So you'll note that we didn't have another date for a follow-up. We really needed to hear what the team needed or what the group needed to know what would be the next piece on the agenda. So now we need to go and take a look at our calendars. I just want to remind everybody it happens really fast. The holidays are coming, and once holidays come, that makes it challenging. We will try to have a follow-up meeting prior to the holidays. Worst case is you know about the meeting and it's happening right after the holidays are over. But we will be addressing the needs based on how do we move people and continue to build that confidence, and we'll be able to give updates. In the meantime, the website should be up and running, or the page of the website should be up and ready very soon. And so once we get that, we'll be able to shoot that out to you, so you can take a look at it, and then you can share it with your peers and your community members and such. So I was going to excuse, but I think I saw someone grab the mic.
I just wanted to remind everyone to vote.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I think we're done. Thank you so much. Thank you did our board members all leave? I think they may have. Thank you, Dr. Marsden, for staying through, and thank you for the team. Have a great evening.